What if the person you loved most vanished? Without a goodbye, without a word, without a single trace, and the only thing left behind was a secret that could destroy everything you thought you knew. In the Irish Goodbye, grief doesn't knock politely. It crashes in like a storm, a sudden death, a hidden past, and a truth so devastating it forces one woman to question whether love was ever real or just a beautiful lie. This isn't just a story about loss. It's about what happens when silence speaks louder than love, and when goodbye was never meant to be the end. Stay with us, because once this journey begins, there's no turning back. Hello, everyone. Hi, all, and welcome to BookPodCastZone. I'm John.
And I'm Emma.
We are really going deep today, but not just into a book, which is, our usual.
Not at all. Today's a bit different. We're looking at the architecture behind the story, the blueprint.
Exactly. We got our hands on the full structural roadmap for a companion podcast series. It's called The Irish Goodbye, chapter by chapter.
And this is a fascinating opportunity. We're not just analyzing a narrative. We're analyzing how a narrative is dissected and then reassembled for an audience to create maximum emotional impact over time. It's the craft of the deep dive.
It really is. A meta-analysis, almost.
That's it. So our mission today is pretty specific. We're looking at this roadmap for the podcast, which is based on a novel by Karen Kingsbury.
And she's an author who is, well, she's known for stories with a ton of emotional weight, right? Faith, family, really difficult choices.
That's her wheelhouse, absolutely. So that context alone tells you this whole project is engineered for a profound emotional response. It's not a casual beach read.
Not at all. And what we have here, it's so much more than just a reading list or a schedule. It feels like a masterclass in how to pace a story to grab an audience and just not let them go. For months.
For 2 full months, to be exact. I mean, look at the structure. The podcast hosts, they're called Mia and Leo. They've broken this novel down into a very precise 16-episode arc.
16. That's a big commitment.
It is, but the number makes perfect sense when you break it down. You have 14 core chapters in the book.
Okay, so 1 episode for each chapter, basically.
Pretty much, and then you bookend it. You need a proper introduction to set the stage, get everyone on the same page, and then, a big grand finale to wrap everything up and reflect.
It's a very clean structure. It takes the story and puts it into these digestible, week-by-week chunks. It maps perfectly to, I guess, a standard quarterly content plan for any media company.
And that's no accident. It's designed to maximize discussion, to keep the conversation going. 16 episodes over 8 weeks. That's a long time to keep an audience emotionally invested.
They promise to keep it real, relatable, and full of those aha moments. I like that. They're not positioning themselves as, stuffy literary critics.
No, they're guides. They explicitly say they want to take the listener from teenage vibes to grown-up reflections. It's about the journey.
But before we get into the nitty-gritty of the chapters, we should probably talk about the title itself, The Irish Goodbye. It feels like that's the key to the whole thing.
It absolutely is. The title is the thematic core of the entire structure. For anyone who might not know the phrase, an Irish goodbye is when you leave a party or any social gathering without telling anyone, you just disappear.
No long, drawn-out farewells. You just vanish.
Exactly. An exit without explanation. And the novel, and by extension this podcast, uses that concept as a metaphor for an unresolved loss. It's that sudden death, the vanishing that you mentioned in the opening.
So the whole story, the entire journey for the main character is driven by this void, this lack of closure. The entire 16-episode podcast is about trying to fill in that silence.
And the pacing is how they manage the tension of that silence. Let's look at that release schedule because it's brilliant. It kicks off December 2nd, 2025, and episodes drop twice a week.
Twice a week, not once. Tuesdays and Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern.
Yes, and that is a very, very deliberate psychological strategy.
Okay, unpack that for me. Why is twice a week so much more effective than the standard, 1 episode every Wednesday?
Well, with a single weekly drop, you give the listener too much time to get distracted by other things, or worse, you give them time to get impatient and just binge read the entire book ahead of the show.
And then the podcast becomes irrelevant.
Right. But a Tuesday-Friday schedule, that creates these little micro cliffhangers. Tuesday's episode drops, and it gives you the real meat of a chapter's analysis. It probably ends on a new question, a new piece of the puzzle.
So you're left thinking about it all day Wednesday, all day Thursday. That's the emotional hook.
And then Friday hits. Just as you're heading into the weekend, Friday's episode resolves the immediate tension from Tuesday, but it opens a whole new can of worms right before you have 2 days of downtime.
And the weekend is when people have more time to actually read or to jump into the online discussions, the forums, whatever.
Precisely. It creates this sustained emotional cycle. It's a rhythm that keeps the show at the front of your mind for 8 solid weeks. They aren't just selling a summary of the book. They're selling the continuous experience of analyzing it together, making sure that emotional roller coaster never really stops.
It's like they're managing the listener's nervous system. It's kind of genius, actually. Okay, let's get into it. Let's unpack this blueprint, starting with those first 4 episodes where it looks like they hook you immediately with nostalgia and secrets.
The foundation, yeah. This is where they build the world and establish those high school dynamics.
Okay, so episode 1, Intro to the Irish Goodbye, why this book hits different in 2025.
This first episode is all about priming the pump. It's setting the hype, but also managing expectations. They start by name-dropping Karen Kingsbury, which, immediately signals quality and a certain emotional depth to her massive existing fan base.
But then they pivot, right? They don't just lean on her name. They focus on the timeliness of the themes.
Yes, for 2025 specifically, they're highlighting friendship, crushes, finding yourself, these universal themes. It's a brilliant move because it makes the story feel relevant right now, no matter when it was originally written.
Yeah.
They're basically saying this isn't just a story, it's a mirror to your own life.
And it sets the vibe, as they say. It's not going to be a dry academic breakdown. It's going to be raw and relatable.
And that's so important for building the community. They're setting up the listener Q&A early. They're establishing their own personalities as hosts. They're essentially selling the safe space for discussion first and letting the plot come second.
Which makes you feel connected to Mia and Leo, the hosts, before you even meet the characters in the book. It's a smart bridge to build.
It lowers the barrier to entry, absolutely.
Okay, so after the intro, episode 2 dives right into chapter 1. The title is The Last Day of Summer, When Everything Felt Possible, with the sunglasses emoji.
And this is, as we said, the emotional calibration point for the entire story. By starting at the end of summer, they immediately tap into this incredibly potent universal feeling. It's the loss of innocence. The unstructured freedom is over.
And the stakes are about to get very real.
Exactly. Rules, structure, school.
Yeah.
It's all coming.
I can just feel this so vividly, especially in the U.S., that last weekend before Labor Day, it's like a national ritual. It's this mix of sadness, but also, excitement for what's next.
Oh, for sure. Think about the closing day of the local public pool. That specific smell of chlorine and sunscreen just hanging in the air, the sound of laughter kind of echoing in a now empty space.
Or the last night of the state fair.
Yeah.
You're eating that one last corn dog, and you can just feel school looming on the horizon. It's such a strong emotional anchor. It makes the characters feel immediately real.
And the synopsis mentions setting up a lifetime of what-ifs. That's pure foreshadowing. They're not just reminiscing about the summer that's passed. They're dropping hints about the central conflict, the road not taken, the single choice that spirals into a crisis later.
So you feel the loss of summer, which primes you to feel the loss of innocence that the story is promising. That's a really solid setup.
It sets the emotional pitch high, and for us, as analysts of this structure, well, it's a masterstroke.
And that's just the first chapter.
Right. And just a quick note for everyone listening to us break this down.
Oh, yeah, our little housekeeping moment. Like, subscribe, and share for more update, and continue to next.
Okay, with that out of the way, let's move from that hazy summer feeling right into the harsh lights of high school. Chapter 2.
New school, new secrets, with a little schoolhouse emoji. The tone shifts immediately, doesn't it? We go from that lazy nostalgia to high-stakes social anxiety.
We're in the hallways. The synopsis mentions hidden notes, the chaos, the drama.
High school is the perfect crucible for secrets, isn't it? I mean, it's this closed ecosystem where your social status is everything. A single rumor, a note passed between lockers, it can feel like life or death.
Because the consequences of being exposed are, social death. And the roadmap points to awkward intros and budding alliances. This is a really key structural element.
Also,
Well, these early friendships, these alliances, they are built on vulnerability. You're new, you're nervous, you cling to the first people who are kind to you. That creates a really intense, high-trust bond very quickly.
which is necessary for the characters to start sharing the secrets that drive the plot.
Yes. But there's a darker side to it. The narrative is building these alliances just so it can tear them down later. The betrayal will hurt so much more because it violates that initial fragile trust.
So the friendships aren't just for comfort. They're actually structural vulnerabilities waiting to be exploited. It's not just about what the secret is, but who you trusted with it.
Precisely. The conflict becomes both internal, the guilt of knowing something, and external, the fear of who else might find out. The innocent phase is officially over.
Which leads us right into the first major shadowlist. Episode 4 covers Chapter 3, The Note That Changed Everything. And there's a little paper and pencil emoji here.
This is where the story really puts its foot on the gas. The summary is so potent. One scribbled message flips the script, read it again moments, how tiny words can rewrite the whole vibe.
The emphasis on tiny words is so important. This isn't some big public announcement. It's a secret. It's hidden. It's something small and physical that carries this enormous weight.
And making it a physical note, not a text or a DM, is a very deliberate choice, especially for a story being analyzed in 2025.
What's the difference? I mean, a secret is a secret, right?
Well, a text can be deleted. A screenshot can be shared instantly with dozens of people. But a physical scribbled note, that's a tangible burden. You have to hide it. You have to carry it. It forces the character to confront the secret alone first.
It isolates them. There's no one to immediately forward it to for advice. The struggle is completely internal at first.
Exactly. It maximizes that psychological tension. Structurally, this is the engine of the story turning over. The narrative can't idle anymore. The clock is now officially ticking, and we are moving full speed towards the core conflict.
And that rapid acceleration is what makes the twice-weekly podcast schedule work. You can't just drop a bombshell like The Note That Changed Everything on a Tuesday and then make people wait a full week.
You'd lose them. You have to give them the next piece of the puzzle on Friday.
Okay, so the secret is out, or at least it's in the protagonist's hands. What comes next? A complication, of course.
Of course. Chapter 4, Falling for the Wrong or Right Person, with a broken heart emoji. Right after the note, they introduce a huge romantic conflict.
So you're juggling this massive, terrifying secret, and at the same time, you're dealing with these overwhelming new emotions for someone.
And the framing here is so modern. Crush alert, hard eyes versus red flags. It's not just about a simple, innocent first love. It's about doubt, complexity, and rapid-fire judgment.
That tension, the hard eyes versus red flags, is so vital. It immediately puts the protagonist's judgment to the test at the exact moment they need to have a clear head.
Exactly. Are they seeing this new person clearly? Or is their judgment clouded by the stress of the secret? If they fall for the wrong person, it suggests a blind spot that could make everything so much worse.
This feels so amplified by today's dating culture, especially in, say, a major U.S. city. You're swiping on apps, you're checking their social media, you're trained to look for those red flags immediately. The slow burn high school crush now has this layer of intense modern critique over it.
And that makes the inner doubt so much more potent. The romance isn't just a side plot. It's a high-stakes distraction that could either be a lifeline or the thing that pulls them under completely.
It also keeps the story grounded. Even when your world is secretly falling apart, life and your teenage heart just keeps going.
It's essential realism.
Okay, another chapter down. I guess it's time for a check-in.
It is indeed. So for everyone following along, please do like, subscribe, and share for more update, and continue to next.
All right. That covers the setup. Now, the outline says we're moving into the core conflict, episodes 5 through 9. This is where things get really deep.
Oh, this is where it gets really interesting. This is Act 2. The series shifts here from what you might call classic teen drama tropes into these really profound themes of identity, vulnerability, and loyalty.
This is the heart of the story, where all those secrets and alliances from the first few chapters get put under some serious pressure.
And it starts with a bang. Chapter 5, coming out in a small town with a rainbow emoji.
Wow, okay. So this is a huge turning point. It's taking a deeply personal journey of identity and smashing it right up against a restrictive social environment. Raw talks on courage, whispers in tight-knit spots.
The small town setting is so deliberate. It's not an accident. In a big city, you can find your tribe. You can be anonymous. In a small town, you can't. Everybody knows your family, your history. There's nowhere to hide.
So the whispers have real power. Reputation is everything. And that phrase, owning your truth when the world's watching. The world really is watching.
Think about the cultural difference in the U.S. Coming out in a small, conservative town in the Midwest or the Deep South. It's a fundamentally different experience than in, say, a progressive coastal city like Portland or Boston.
In one place, you might find immediate acceptance. In the other, you're not just revealing something about yourself, you might be challenging the town's entire social structure, the authority of the local church, generations of family expectations.
The stakes just went from personal to communal. And this immediately puts all those budding alliances from Chapter 2 to the test. Who stands by you when doing so might cost them their own social standing.
It forces a reaction. You can't be neutral.
Right. And that leads directly to the next chapter. Before we jump in, though.
Right, the thing. You know the drill by now, everyone. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and share for more. Update and continue to next.
Okay, so that reaction comes immediately. Chapter 6 is titled, Friendships Tested by Fire, with a fire emoji.
The metaphor here is perfect. Fire doesn't just test something. It either purifies it and makes it stronger, or it brings it to ash. There's no in-between.
And the synopsis says the bonds stretch thin because of jealousy, misunderstandings, the works. So it's not just the external pressure from the town, it's internal flaws within the friend group bubbling to the surface.
The pressure is cracking open their own insecurities.
Yes, it proves that even the strongest friendships have fault lines. And this is structurally necessary. You have to remove the protagonist's support system, or at least make it unreliable, to raise the stakes for their journey. They have to feel alone.
This is where you'd see that loyalty test. The friend who is forced to choose between supporting their friend who just came out and, I don't know, staying popular and not disappointing their parents.
And I love that the hosts, Mia and Leo, promise to share their own friendship fails in this episode. It's such a smart way to connect this fictional drama back to the very real, very messy experiences of their listeners.
It makes it universal. Everyone has a story about a friendship that bent or broke under pressure.
It's that moment of emotional reckoning, which is the perfect setup for what comes next.
I'm almost afraid to ask.
You should be. A quick reminder to our listeners first.
Ah, yes. For all the latest on our deep dives, like, subscribe, and share for more. Update and continue to next.
All right, Chapter 7. Heartbreak hits hard and unexpectedly. The emoji is a crying face. This is the emotional gut punch of the entire middle act.
The key word there has to be unexpectedly. This isn't a slow, sad breakup. This is a twist. A betrayal or a loss that the character and the reader just did not see coming.
It's the narrative equivalent of having the rug pulled out from under you. It creates this feeling of total chaos, a complete loss of control. And structurally, it's necessary. You have to strip away the character's last bit of emotional safety to force them to change.
This is the low point, isn't it? The nadir. If the story is about resilience, you have to hit rock bottom before you can start bouncing back.
And if you look at the 14-chapter structure, Chapter 7 is the exact midpoint. It's classic narrative design. You have the lowest emotional point right in the middle to create the maximum possible contrast with the resolution at the end.
You have to feel completely devastated and alone before you can find the strength to solve the mystery of that original Irish goodbye.
The pain has to be processed, which brings us to a much-needed moment of quiet.
But not before we do our thing.
Right. You know what to do, folks. Like, subscribe, and share for more update and continue to next.
Okay, Chapter 8. Secrets spill over coffee with a coffee cup emoji. After all that fire and heartbreak, this feels like a deep breath.
It's an essential moment of emotional decompression. The characters have to regroup. And the setting is so important. They're moving away from the public pressure of school and back to an intimate, safe space. A coffee shop, a kitchen table.
But the synopsis says that spilling your guts can heal or complicate everything. So even this quiet moment is filled with tension.
It's a huge gamble. They need to talk to process everything that's happened, but saying the wrong thing to the wrong person could make the whole situation 10 times worse. It's a moment of very fragile trust.
It reminds me of the structure of a thriller. You know, there's always that quiet moment of calm right before the final chaotic act begins. It's the characters taking an emotional inventory.
Who can I still trust? What secrets do I still have to keep? They're preparing for what comes next. And what comes next is a journey.
First, the quick journey to the subscribe button.
Yes. A quick reminder for everyone, like, subscribe, and share for more update, and continue to next.
And now for the real journey, Chapter 9. Road trips and revelations with a car emoji. This is about physical movement.
And metaphorical movement. The road trip is the ultimate symbol of transition and self-discovery. By physically leaving the small town, the source of all their judgment and pressure, the characters can finally get some perspective.
The American road trip is so iconic for that. It's this ultimate cinematic setting for finding yourself, driving down a long, empty highway like I-40 or Route 66. You're trapped in this little metal box with your thoughts and, whoever you're with.
And that forced proximity, it just accelerates everything. The conflicts, the heart-to-hearts, you can't escape. You have to deal with your stuff.
You're stripped of all your usual distractions. And it's in that vacuum that the real growth happens.
This chapter is essential. It lets the characters solidify the changes they've undergone and the new alliances they've formed before they have to go back and face the music. The protagonist is a different person now, but they still have to prove it.
Which brings us to the final act, the climax and the final reckoning.
This is where everything comes to a head. The teenage drama is about to collide with some very adult consequences.
So after the freedom of the road trip, it's back to reality. Chapter 10, family ties that bind and bruise, with a family emoji.
They have to return to the source. The family unit. This is the foundational pressure that shaped them. The synopsis talks about parental expectations and sibling shade.
That phrase, bind and bruise, is so perfect. Family is what holds you together, what binds you to your past, but it's also where the expectations can be so high that they bruise you.
And this is so relatable in the U.S. context. Think about the pressure cooker of college application season or coming home for the holidays after you've built a new life for yourself somewhere else. You have to reconcile the person you've become with the person your family still expects you to be.
And that tension creates a really volatile atmosphere, which is the perfect setup for a climax. The stakes are no longer just about your friends. They're about your place in your own family.
And we can't move to that climax without a quick pause.
Of course. Hey everyone, if you're enjoying this breakdown, please like, subscribe, and share for more update and continue to next.
All right, this is it. The big one. Chapter 11, The Party That Goes Wrong, with an explosion emoji after a party popper.
This is the narrative detonation. This is the moment where everything that's been simmering for 10 chapters finally boils over and explodes.
The party is the collision point. The secret from the note, the romantic drama, the broken friendships, the family pressure. It all goes off in one very public, very chaotic setting. This is the point of no return.
And the synopsis explicitly references the title of the book. It mentions lessons from epic fails we all wish we could Irish goodbye.
That is the key. It implies that at the peak of the chaos, someone vanishes. Someone performs an Irish goodbye. Maybe it's the protagonist, unable to face the fallout. Or maybe a key relationship just implodes and disappears without a word. It mirrors the original loss that started the whole story.
And because it all happens at a party, the secret is no longer private. It's public knowledge. The shame, the consequences, they're immediate.
This is the moment the full emotional price is paid, and the audience is left breathless, needing to know what happens next.
How do you even begin to clean up a mess that big? Well, just a quick cleanup of our own.
Right. If you want to see how we piece this all together, make sure you like, subscribe, and share for more update, and continue to next.
So after the explosion, we get Chapter 12, piecing together the puzzle, with a puzzle piece emoji.
The pace has to slow down here. This is the aftermath. It's about intellectual understanding, not emotional reaction. The synopsis says, dots connect, truths emerge.
The protagonist shifts from being reactive and overwhelmed to being proactive.
Yeah.
They're not just a victim of the chaos anymore. They're an investigator putting all the pieces together.
They're looking back at that tiny note from Chapter 3, the betrayals from Chapter 6, all the oh-snap moments, and seeing how they form one single devastating picture.
It's the moment of clarity, the intellectual climax that has to happen after the emotional one.
And it shows that the character has truly matured. They have the full truth now. The question is, what will they do with it?
First, a quick reminder of what you should do.
Hey, yes, please. Like, subscribe, and share for more update, and continue to next.
All right, Chapter 13. This feels like the resolution. Goodbyes you never saw coming, with a waving hand emoji.
This is where the pain finally meets acceptance. The synopsis talks about an emotional gut punch and holding space for the ache. This is the formal goodbye. It's likely a permanent separation, a final choice that has to be made now that the truth is known.
It's the character enacting their own conscious goodbye, maybe? Not the sudden, unexplained one that happened to them, but one they choose.
And that line, why some endings feel like fresh starts, that is the bridge to the finale. It reframes the painful loss as something liberating. It's the moment the protagonist finally understands the original Irish goodbye and chooses how to move forward.
The cycle is finally broken. Wow.
A powerful moment, just like the moment you hit subscribe.
Smooth. Really smooth. Yeah, everyone, like, subscribe, and share for more update, and continue to next.
Which brings us to the final chapter of the book. Chapter 14, Embracing the Unknown, Final Chapter Feels, with a sparkles emoji.
This is the epilogue, really, the post-resolution wrap-up. The storm has passed. The summary talks about hope and hard-won wisdom.
The focus is all on emotional closure. The character hasn't just survived, they've used the trauma to grow. The unknown isn't scary anymore, it's full of potential because they know they can handle whatever comes their way.
And the synopsis mentions romance reborn. So that relationship from chapter 4, the one with all the red flags and hard eyes, it made it through the fire.
It's a validation. It shows that a real connection can withstand all that pressure. The final feeling is one of peace and acceptance. The protagonist is ready for adult life, carrying all those painful lessons with them.
The journey is complete. The void has been filled, not with answers about the past, but with strength for the future.
A perfect end to the arc. And before we move to the podcast's finale,
one last time for the book chapters. If this breakdown helped you see the story in a new light, then please like, subscribe, and share for more update, and continue to next.
Okay, so we've walked through the entire narrative structure of the book. Now let's look at the meta strategy. How do the podcast hosts, Mia and Leo, plan to wrap up their own 16-episode deep dive?
This is the analysis of the analysis. Episode 15 is the big book breakdown, and episode 16 is about the community. And it looks like they have a really sophisticated strategy for who they're targeting.
A dual audience strategy, yeah. The finale, episode 15, is designed to be spoiler-free for newbies, but also have deep cuts for rewatches.
That's incredibly smart. So if a new person finds the finale first, it works as a teaser, it gives them the big themes and life lessons, and makes them want to go back and start the whole series from the beginning.
It creates this long-tail engagement. But for the dedicated listeners who've been there for all 8 weeks, they get the payoff they deserve. Top quotes, character rankings, and most importantly, listener stories.
Including the listeners makes it so personal. And that final theme, what the Irish Goodbye taught us about real love, pivots the whole conversation from being about the book to being about the listener's own life.
It makes the content evergreen. It's not just a book report. It's a self-help tool. It guarantees people will come back to it and share it.
And their stated goal, to make the community a safe space. That's the real-world payoff of the book's themes. They're creating the supportive environment that the characters in the story were so desperately searching for.
It's a brilliant way to turn a piece of media into a meaningful ecosystem. But there's one more layer here. The marketing.
Oh, right, the nuts and bolts. The roadmap notes that they use titles optimized for SEO with hooks like emojis and questions.
And this is such a crucial insight into content creation today. You can have the most profound, in-depth analysis in the world, but if people can't find it, it doesn't matter.
The packaging has to be as good as the content. And using those emojis, the sunglasses, the broken heart, the explosion, it's not just cute, it's a strategy.
It's instant emotional signaling. When you're scrolling through 100 different podcasts or videos, that little emoji tells you the tone of the episode in a fraction of a second. It's designed to stop the scroll.
It's a lesson for anyone creating anything online. The deep, thoughtful content is only half the battle. The other half is making sure it can cut through the noise.
They're making sure the emotional journey they've so carefully structured is reflected in the single line of text someone sees on their screen. It closes the loop perfectly.
What an incredible blueprint. We've just broken down the entire structural journey of this 16-episode roadmap for The Irish Goodbye. We've seen the pacing, the secrets, the betrayal, and finally the redemption.
It's a fantastic case study in narrative architecture. How to build alliances just to test them with fire, and how to lead a character and an audience toward real, earned wisdom over 8 long weeks.
And at the very center of it all is that one core concept, the Irish Goodbye. That sudden, unexplained exit that creates a void and drives the whole story.
It's the engine of the plot. The protagonist has to become an investigator to make sense of that absence before they can finally find the strength to create their own sense of closure.
And that leaves us with one final provocative thought for you to take with you. If the protagonist's entire life was shaped by trying to find the truth behind an Irish goodbye, what are the Irish goodbyes in our own life?
Yeah. What are they? They're those unresolved questions. The relationships that just ended without a conversation. The opportunities that vanished before we could grab them. Those sudden disappearances, emotional or physical, that change our reality and send us on our own search for answers.
What truth are you still trying to piece together from an ending that never really felt like an ending? And what have you learned about your own resilience in that search?
Something to think about.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into structure, story, and emotion.
We'll see you next time.